Militant groups in Syria are believed to have taken full control of the country's second largest city, Aleppo. The army says it has withdrawn its troops to prepare for a counter-offensive. The surprise advance by rebel fighters has been led by the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. They are based in the Idlib province, the last stronghold of militia forces in Syria. The group says they have control of the entire area, sweeping west and reaching Aleppo in 3 days. It's the first time the city has been under rebel control since the president's allies, Russia and Iran, forced them out 8 years ago.
Their descent on Aleppo has been blistering in its speed, taking the Syrian regime and the world by surprise. Opposition fighters now control much of the city, and they're vowing to take the capital, Damascus, next. So far, they've met little resistance, skidding cars in one of the main plazas in celebration. And in the advance, symbols and statues of the Assad dictatorship are not being spared, toppled wherever they once stood. This war was dormant, at a stalemate, but not anymore. Aleppo is a huge prize for the rebels, as it was a major centre of power for the regime.
To see the entire city fall in 24 hours, as we did yesterday, is, I mean, beyond dramatic. It's like an earthquake in the scale of the last 13, 14 years of the Syrian crisis.
It is uncertain when this lightning attack will end. It started just a few days ago, with the rebels quickly moving through the countryside. The people here can't believe how suddenly it's changed.
We suffered greatly in the refugee camp, complaining to God. But when I returned yesterday and today to the village and found it liberated, it was an indescribable joy.
The landscape here has been pummeled by artillery with smoke and the sound of shelling echoing across the horizon. The opposition, backed by Turkey and led by the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, say the offensive's been launched to stop government airstrikes on its territory in northwest Syria.
We in the Military Operations Department stand up to our responsibilities to put an end to the transgressions of this criminal regime and protect our people.
The attack shows the weakness of President Assad's regime as its allies fight in other wars, with Russia bogged down in Ukraine and Iran and its proxies weakened in the conflict with Israel. Syria's dictator has been left exposed. Syrian and Russian jets are now launching heavy counter-strikes. This is the aftermath of an assault on central Aleppo. The ground is covered with blood. For the last few days, opposition fighters have been virtually unopposed. But President Assad's government says it's temporary and is vowing to push them back.
Let's hear more from Alex Rossi.
Nobody or many people were not expecting this offensive, certainly not on the scale in which we've seen it unfold. And I think even the rebels are pretty surprised by how successful they've been. Initially, the operation was supposed to push Assad's forces back from Idlib province out of range so they couldn't shell those areas held by the opposition. But they met no resistance at all, it seems, and they have just rolled into Aleppo, which was once Syria's largest city. It's a very important power hub for the regime, and they've pretty much, we understand, taken over all of the city. The map is changing dramatically. Now, of course, this asks questions. What does this mean for President Assad? It's my understanding that he has been to Moscow to try and appeal for more help from the Kremlin. I think in Moscow, Vladimir Putin is, he's very worried about the situation that is unfolding in Syria. Remember, it's not that long ago that he had to send in his air force to basically keep President Assad in power, so he wasn't toppled by the opposition back during the revolution. Now, they are pledging a counter-offensive, and we are seeing the first glimmer of that tonight. Very heavy airstrikes, we understand, in and around Aleppo. And I think, again, that will suggest that there is going to be a big fight when, of course, President Assad can muster the forces to launch a counter-strike.